and welcome, and thank you for joining CivilNet. Today, again, as it has been previously many times, Dr. Garo Armen is our guest, but today we have a very specific topic to talk about, the Smart Center. Firstly, thank you for joining us.
It's a pleasure for me to be here.
And this is an exciting and ambitious project, and we'd like to learn more about it. It says you're going to impact 400,000 lives.
Hopefully more.
Hopefully more. How did the idea of creating a smart center in Lori come about? I mean, knowing that COAF is busy enough implementing a lot of projects, and then now this.
Well, you know, as you know, our project started about 13 years ago, and we were implementing them manually, meaning we were very attentive to the region in Armavir, and we started with one village, and then it expanded into now up to 30 plus villages, but it required a lot of one-to-one attention, and we were able to do that because of the proximity. Typically, Armavir Mars is about an hour distance from Yerevan, so our professionals went there every day practically to do what they do so well. And as these programs took hold and the success became apparent, and success is apparent in the sense that the lives of these people have changed dramatically, we said, how do we export this to other distant regions of Armenia? And so the concept of Smart Center developed organically. It was deliberations internally, and we started talking about, can we use technology, video conferencing and other means of technology to basically overcome the barriers of distance and bring remote villages to not just Yerevan via connectivity, but also to the world. And that's one of the major advantages of the Smart Center, because people ask me, you know, is it like a TUMO center? And the answer is no. TUMO is a wonderful technology center. There's no question about it. But the difference between TUMO and the Smart Center is the Smart Center uses technology to implement the COAF programs efficiently, whereas TUMO is a specialist in technology. Yes.
And are these programs for children mainly, or adults as well?
It's, you know, that's a question that has been asked many, many times, and it's very difficult to differentiate between children and adults, because adults are the caretakers of the children, and we have to make them part of the process, and we have done that in Armavir very successfully. Particularly, mothers are very much involved with a lot of the activities that we engage in. And so, to answer your question, the Smart Center will be primarily for children and the youth, but adults will be welcome because there are a lot of regionally relevant programs that adults will participate in. You know, for example, light construction, to teach them renovating their own schools. Instead of us renovating it, we'll teach it in the Smart Center, but also, very importantly, things like modern techniques, so organic architecture, you know, forestry techniques, then music. Of course, adults are involved in that process as well. Arts, technology, you know, and also extracurricular activities that teach civic education and all.
And these programs are mainly designed with the aim of helping them stay in the village, are they, or?
Well, you know, in our villages in Armavir, Mars, quality of life has improved so dramatically that many of them think that they have a better quality of life than if they were to move to Yerevan or Moscow, because they have better schools, they have a superb healthcare system, we have the best standards of care in rural Armenia in healthcare, they have a very, very strong social infrastructure. And so if you have all of these things and you can provide a better future for your children, why would you leave?
And speaking of the design, it's very impressive, and to have a construction like this in Lori, especially that it goes so well with the surrounding, it doesn't seem to disturb it. I'd like to learn more. How did you agree on such a design? How did it come about?
The story of the design is very interesting, actually. As you said, a good friend of mine who is a very, very famous art dealer in New York, his name is Tony Shafrazi, when he heard about the concept of the Smart Center, he immediately said, you know, he said, Garo, you have to do something outrageous physically, because these people are obviously disadvantaged, they have no hope. They have really no aspirations because they're not given the opportunity to have aspirations. So you have to show them something that is outrageously beautiful and modern. And by doing that, their horizons will expand. They will become people that will no longer put limits on what could be done. And so if you look at the history of our Armenian nation, we have broken new ground by making progress in so many different areas. And now that over the last 100 years, we have had a number of misfortunes that started with the genocide, continued with the Sovietization of our culture, and I'm not making a negative statement on Sovietization of anything, but it's not the Armenian culture, it was different. So we've had a number of hurdles that have restricted our ability to exercise the kind of things that we have historically known to be. And so with these types of initiatives, we hope that our original Armenian culture will be restored again. And when we do that, I think sky's the limit. I think our people have terrific potential, and I'm hopeful that we will see that very shortly.
It's usually my impression that fundraising for Armenia is becoming more and more difficult, and looks like this is something that needs enormous amount of input. How were you able to engage these people to believe in projects?
When we first started our fundraising effort in 2004, it was met with a lot of skepticism because we had an ambitious goal of raising over $1 million. And that year we ended up raising over $1.4 million. And interestingly, a lot of that came from foreigners, meaning non-Armenians contributed to about 80% of that. And the reason is simple, because they trusted what we were doing, they liked the project. It was not just an Armenian issue, it was a human issue. And since then, we have been very aggressively raising funds, and we've raised a total of over $25 million in this period of time. And now that we're stepping up the effort, obviously, it will require a higher level of fundraising targets. But I think the stakes are so high that we have no choice but to succeed in our efforts by raising money and by also implementing the program. So we are excited about this project because it will, in our opinion, it will change the landscape of rural Armenia. But very importantly, it will bring a huge proportion of the population to become active participants in every aspect of rebuilding our country. And that's the most important driver.
And as I see, the Smart Center is going to have a lot of satellites around in the area. Is that you're expanding soon enough?
So there are two components to this. So Smart Center is the epicenter of activities regionally in a region that is within about an hour travel distance or less. So what we decided to do in order to make the process very, very efficient is establish smart rooms in a number of the surrounding villages that will be connected to the Smart Center, as well as connected to the rest of the world as well. And so 6 of these smart rooms are now ready, and 3 of them are already operational. So we're already implementing programs. For example, in one of the smart centers recently, there was a connectivity tool with the She group in Holland that engages in activities related to establishing healthy schools, healthy nutritional habits, and so on and so forth. So all of these connectivities are already happening. And what's paramount for the success of the SMART project in general is very high quality connectivity, so that you can push a button and you can see a person on the other side of the screen, number one, and also to master the language of Esperanto, which has become English now. So if we need to communicate with the world and benefit from their knowledge, it's imperative that we speak English. So those are the real cornerstones of our activities, technology and English education, and we've done this in Armenia very successfully. In fact, we have now English-speaking villages. Even the ambassadors American ambassadors that have visited our villages have been amazed at how proficient some of our children are in speaking English.
That's amazing. But now a more tribal question. Communication to and from, because I see you also offer classes, pottery and forestry and greenhouse, so these kids will have to regularly visit, and I don't know the proximity from surrounding villages, how will that be organized, and also staff, will there be, how many people do you see being there permanently?
The Smart Campus will be housed by a full-time staff in different functions, of course, so that we maintain the integrity and the quality of everything that the Smart Center represents. Smart rooms will be populated by local volunteer participants. We will provide some professional help with that as well. For example, we already have English teachers that are attending to programs in smart rooms. We have technology specialists that are attending to making sure that all the connectivity is optimally done. So if you look at the kinds of programs that we are implementing already, a lot of them are regionally relevant programs. And so, for example, if a child wants to learn about a new pottery technique that has been conceived, let's say, in Singapore, and there is the facility for them to be able to connect and communicate with the technology that we provide, it would be wonderful to do that. So everything becomes seamless in the process, and there are no restrictions to the transfer of knowledge. I think that's the most important thing.
I think that's the bottom line.
That's right.
No restrictions to transfer of knowledge. And the opening is expected later this year?
It is expected later this year. Our target right now is late November, early December.
Looking forward to that. And thank you for joining us today. This was very interesting, and we'll follow up with the progress.
Thank you very much. It's a pleasure to be here.